Thank you for joining me on another episode of She Leads Now podcast, where we help career and entrepreneurial women gain the tools to develop a success mindset, create winning strategies, build collaborative relationships, and take bold action towards creating impact and fulfillment in their lives and careers. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon, and I'm on a mission to awaken and activate women and emerging leaders so they can tap into their innate leadership ability, elevate their influence, and create the impact they were destined to make. If you're ready to uplevel your confidence, courage, and influence, you've come to the right place. Join me weekly for insights, strategies, and resources to help you grow, develop, and embody the leader you are meant to be, so that you can make the impact you know you are called to make and establish the legacy you've always dreamed. The world eagerly awaits the emergence of your brilliance, impact, and influence. So with that, let's dive into this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of She Leads Now. I am your host, Sabine Gideon, and I am thrilled to be with you this week for a solo episode, and it's also a bittersweet episode, not in a bad way, or more sweet than bitter, I guess. But wanted to come on real quick and share a couple of updates. I know I have been hinting at some upcoming changes and just wanted to share what those changes are, what the next steps are going to be in this next leg of the journey with the podcast. So if you are tuning in on the release date, or I guess whenever you are tuning in, this is officially our 100th episode. Woo! Okay, that's about as excited as I'm going to get on here, because otherwise it'll sound obnoxious on your end. So first and foremost, if you tuned into last week's episode, I did a bonus episode on Friday, which was episode 99, as we celebrated our official 2-year launch anniversary. So it's a lot happening in January. But nonetheless, we celebrated our 2-year anniversary, and today is the 100th episode. So I echo the sentiments from Friday's recording. Just thank you. Thank you for every single listener, every single supporter, everyone who shared, everyone who's commented, rated, reviewed, all of the things. I appreciate you. We have so much to celebrate, and it's only the first month of 2024. So hopefully this is an indication of what 2024 will look like as we journey together in community and in sisterhood, through learning, development, and through challenging ourselves to grow beyond what we even believe is possible for ourselves. So with that 100th episode, 2-year anniversary, that meant big changes. Part of the changes came because of these major milestones. But if you've been listening, you've heard me say over and over and over again that my word of the year for 2024 is alignment. And it caused me to look at everything that I was doing, every way that I was serving and showing up in the world, and to create alignment where there was misalignment. And so while, the podcast has, again, brought on so many amazing powerhouses, they've shared their journeys, they've given insight into the work that they're doing, both either as professionals in corporate or in entrepreneurship. It definitely was one of the things that I realized needed a little bit of a sprucing up to really truly align, not just with me because it's my word of the year, but align in the total broader sense or strategy of my business, because this is part of my business. While I do enjoy podcasting, this is not meant to be a hobby for me. It is part of my business marketing strategy, getting my thought leadership out there, being able to create a platform that I can elevate other women. So it has multiple uses. Because it has multiple uses, in certain seasons, if you will, it got used for one purpose. And then another season, it was used for another purpose. And then another season came along and I aligned it with another purpose. Well, I have taken a step back. I have not only done the work, the self-work, But now looking at everything, looking at my business holistically, looking at the community that I wish to build from a holistic perspective, I realized that I had to make some changes to the podcast. So first and foremost, the podcast is not going anywhere because I really truly do enjoy this work. I enjoy the women that I get to meet as part of this process, as well as, the amazing women who are listeners who, reach out to me occasionally to share the lessons or some of the insights that they've gleaned. So with that, while it is our 100th episode, it is the last episode as the She Leads Now podcast. So grab your tissues, do what you need to do to grieve and to let go. Probably none of you are doing that, just me. But nonetheless, as we move forward into February of 2024, so the official name change, rebrand, everything goes into effect on 2/1, so February 1st, which is a Thursday, literally tomorrow. If you're listening to this on the day that it gets released, our new official name is, drumroll please, Women of Power, Purpose, and Prosperity. So that is the new name of the podcast. It's a lot more words than before, at least with the 3 Ps. Hopefully, that'll be easier for people to understand, for them to remember. At some point, I'll probably start abbreviating the 3 Ps or maybe it's just going to be the Women of 3 Ps. We'll figure that out. But nonetheless, I wanted to share that. And so, I don't want to spend too much time here on how I came to the name, but I want you to hear these 3 words. These 3 words are powerful words in and of themselves, and they are very personal words to the person who is listening to it or who is hearing it. But nonetheless, I want to make it clear that in 2024, my goal is to help as many women shine as brightly as they can or as they choose to. And therefore, I am not of the mindset or the willingness, if you will, to create a space or create a platform where women aren't as comfortable or confident in standing in who they are, their unique brilliance, their genius. And so when we think about power, right? Most of the time when the word power, whatever, is brought up with women, and as you know, I've been recording a series on this, so you're going to hear all about it this year. But, a lot of times the term that's assigned to us, if you will, is empowered, right? I think it has its place. I fully respect that term. I understand where it's coming from. You've seen me use it. You've heard me use it on many occasions through the Women Empowering Women and all the other stuff. However, I've shifted, and I want to help support as many women shift away from being empowered to being powerful. And ultimately, that is an identity shift. That is more than just, confidence and doing your superwoman pose and all that other stuff. That is an inner knowing that you are a creative being and that you are powerful just because you exist, just because you are in the world. Because in essence, you are a powerful being, you're a powerful human, you're a powerful woman. So you're gonna hear me talk about power quite a bit. And again, I want to preface this from the standpoint of, I've spoken to enough women to understand and know that we have different relationships with the word power. And part of that is just based on, our earlier conditioning. It's based on what we see in society, how power is yielded. So, as I talk about power, this is all about you making it your own, because the truth be told, we all have power. Our male counterparts demonstrate or they exert power over. That is their natural style. Where we as women, it's about power with, it's about collaboration, it's about influencing. And so I want to help as many women move into that space where they are owning who they are. They are owning their voice. They are owning their truth. And they are standing in being okay with being powerful or having power or demonstrating power. And then, of course, purpose, right? That's another big word. Ask someone to define what purpose is, and you might get 10 or 15 or even more different responses. But, I believe that the women who are drawn to me, that yes, we are ambitious. Yes, we want to get stuff done, but we really have the mindset that we can change the world, or at the very least, the corner of the space in which we're the most passionate about. And so I really want us to lose the shackles in terms of what we think we ought to do or what we think people expect for us, and to really align with who we are. What do we want? What do we want to accomplish? What really lights us up? What cause? What group of people? What type of work really speaks to our soul and feeds us? And then giving ourselves the permission, and of course, putting the strategy in place to align with that, but really moving from a place of purpose versus obligation or versus your conditioning. And then prosperity, I know that that's a trigger word for a lot of people, but I believe that prosperity is our birthright. It is part of our identity. That prosperity is available to all of us. And this is someone who has had to do a lot of work on my mindset, on my beliefs, on my emotions, because I very much, whether I realize it or not, obviously I didn't realize it, but when I didn't realize it, I had such a lack and scarcity mindset. And it didn't just show up in money. Prosperity is not just about money. Let's put that on the table. Prosperity is often associated with money, as is wealth, as I've shared before. But this is not just about money. Prosperity, abundance, all these words that we hear that are used interchangeably, it's about your quality of life. It's about what you see is available to you or what you believe is available to you. It's about your ability to dream bigger than your current circumstance versus, kind of shutting down or playing small. So when I speak of prosperity, just to be clear, we are talking about how do you show up in the fullness of your brilliance, where you feel abundant, where you feel joyful, where you feel impactful, where you feel limitless, and you have the freedom and you have the autonomy to create life on your own terms or as you see fit or desire. So there's going to be a lot of talk about prosperity. There is going to be a lot of talk around your money mindset, because that is a huge piece. I can't remember if I've shared it on this podcast outside of the power series that I've been doing in the back end here. But when we think about all of the studies that they've done, 2030 is a big year. It's going to be a big year for our society in general. At that point, that's where, maybe not all, right? Some people decide to work, but the majority of the boomers, who make up about 20% of the workforce, they're retired. They're not going to be in the workforce anymore. Now, again, everybody's not leaving on day one, but at the same time, that is a significant part of our workforce that is leaving. Now, why is that important? They are also the ones who are sitting in top leadership positions. And that's across all sectors, whether that's corporate, whether that's government, healthcare, you name it. And not only that, they're also the ones who are sitting on boards, who are making, these decisions, who are influencing our politicians, you name it. And so you have a group, a very huge demographic, who right now they're sitting in the seats of power. They have the power. I don't want to use the word control, but for lack of a better term, they sit in the seat of power, they are exercising power, and they have had power. Now, what happens when they are no longer in those seats? There's a gap. There's a gap. And guess what? We get to fill those gaps. We get to fill those gaps. And then the other piece too, in addition to them retiring, we know research shows men tend to live shorter lives than women do. And so for, those of you who are married or maybe your mother or whoever, if there is wealth, if you will, or if there are financial resources, that gets transferred to the woman. So we need to be prepared, whatever barriers we've had to power, to money, to, influence, or whatever the case may be, in 6 years' time, those barriers, they won't be there anymore, or at least they'll be a lot less than they are today. However, if we don't start preparing our mindset, dealing with our money wounds, dealing with any challenges or any beliefs that are hidden underneath the surface, time comes 2030, we'll still be complaining about the pay gap or anything else that's happening. And the truth is, the seats of power that are open, we won't be, and I'm generalizing when I say we won't, right? Not the women who are listening to the show, but in general, right? Like we won't be ready. And so that's where this focus is going to be around this conversation. How do we, one, acknowledge where we are today, figure out what it is that we need to work through, and then start taking steps to actively move into a place where when the seats of power are available, we're ready. And when the opportunities to gain access to more resources make themselves available, that we're ready. And so that's the focus of the podcast moving forward. That's actually the focus of all the work that I'll be doing moving forward, but definitely sharing that on the podcast. And of course, as always, this podcast, I've gone back and forth on my whole alignment strategy, if you will, to decide, do I want to only talk to entrepreneurs or do I want to talk to people who are in traditional places? And this is a woman's podcast, point blank, period. So wherever you sit, this show is for you. There is something that you are going to gain. My background. I'm still corporate as much as I try to shed it. But I also understand what it is to run a business, the operational side of it, the strategic side of it. And so it is still for whoever wants to tap in, but you're tapping in not only just for the career stuff that's going to expand, that in order to get to a place where you are powerful, that you are purposeful, and that you are stepping into your prosperity, it's going to require a lot of examination, self-examination, because we're born into some stuff sometimes. And it's not until we are challenged to move to the next level or we are looking to grow that some of that stuff comes up. So think of this as a very holistic focus on the challenges, barriers, whatever you want to call it, that women face in particular. And so moving forward, the conversations that I'm going to be having are a little less, tell us about your career journey and your lessons learned, although those are important. And I will find a way to incorporate those into the conversation. But I'm more concerned about talking to and sharing ideas or exchanging ideas with women who have, plowed, really plowed, and who can come back on the show and give specific strategies on what to do. So you're going to see a shift in terms of the content or the conversations and who I'm bringing onto the show. Again, I respect everything women do, but I want strategy. I want practical tips. I want to be able to give people things that you listen to the show on a Wednesday that you can begin to put into place to shift your life, to shift your current circumstance, to shift things for your family. So that's something that you can expect there. And just a heads up, nothing's going to change if you're subscribed to the show. So the people who subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, you don't have to subscribe to a new show. The RSS feed, which is the identifier for the show, is going to remain the same. What you will see differently is the name of the show, obviously, and the cover art. So that's the graphic. So instead of the multicultural group of animated women that you've seen on She Leads Now, I am actually putting a picture of me. And so you'll be able to recognize the cover art. You'll be able to recognize the show. My name is going to be on there. So just a heads up, if you were thinking that you had to go find another show, nothing for you to do. Just continue to tune in every Wednesday when the episode drops. So let's see. The other thing that sparked this change, or the other thing as I was thinking about alignment and who I want to serve and how I want to serve them and how I can bring, the most value to those who listen to the podcast, to those who work with me, either one-on-one through She Leads Network, or I go speak at engagements. One of the themes that came up, more than once last year, and I would say the year before last, is that I was attracting, and I'll call it that, I was attracting or working with a lot of really smart, ambitious, educated, accomplished women whose confidence had been so beaten down for one reason or another. There wasn't a specific theme or a reason or catalyst why they were at that state, but they were women who, at one point they were on top of their game, like they were winning. And over a series of a couple of things, whether that was leaving to go on maternity leave, whether that was moving, whether that was making a career shift, all these things, starting a business, and they almost took this deep dive. And because they're so ambitious, because they're so driven, because they know that they have what it takes to succeed, they have been clawing their way, so to speak, back to the top. But the confidence, the understanding, the awareness of how strong, of how powerful, of how resilient, of how capable that they are, they started losing that during the time of the fall, we'll call it that. And so as I've coached these women, as I've spoken to these women, mentored these women, one of the things that I realized is that, for us who are really ambitious people, like our climbs may not always necessarily be quick and easy climbs. Like we show up, we do the work, but our falls, they're long falls. They are long falls from glory. And during that fall, a lot of damage is done. And so I've spent the last 2 years really helping women, beyond like, here's the goal that you're moving towards, and here are all the things that you need to do to move towards that goal, really helping them deal with some of the grief, if you will, that took over, right? That they didn't recognize it as grief at the time as they were making these shifts that then kept them kind of stuck, if you will, down at the ditch. So I say all that to say that has been a theme that I've seen quite a bit the last couple of years. And that's why I want to bring in the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical, because all of those components of wealth, us being wealthy or us having, well-being or being healthy, whatever you want to call it, all of those pieces matter in order for us to be, the successful career women or the successful business owners that we want to be. So I want to share this example that kind of highlights what I've seen and where I see me being able to support a lot of the women who listen to the show and who are part of my broader community. So, fleas are able to jump really, really high. I don't know the specific number. And so at any given time when they're in the wild, they can jump really high. You take a flea and you put a jar over the flea. The flea is going to continue to jump real high. It's going to continue to jump, but obviously it's going to keep bumping its head. It's going to keep bumping its head. It's going to keep bumping its head. At some point, the flea makes the decision that, dang, I've been trying to fly out. I've been trying to do the thing that is so natural to me, the thing that I know how to do so well, but it's not working. It's not producing the results that it once used to produce for me. And so the flea then decides at some point, okay, I'm not going to jump anymore. So it stops jumping and it just kind of, flies around low at the bottom of the jar. even when they remove the jar and the flea has total freedom and can go back to jumping as high as it used to, it won't. It won't. It had been so conditioned in that time period of having that jar on top of it that it just gave up and it won't jump again. And so that's what I was seeing with a lot of my clients. Again, these are ambitious, like they were climbing the ladder, they were doing all of the things. And one instance or another caused them to decide, okay, maybe I need to stop jumping, or maybe jumping doesn't work. And now, the process of me working with them has been to kind of like, okay, let's look at the expansion, right? Let's deal with the discouragement or whatever else that took place during that period. But then let's go back to, you are a brilliant flea that can fly really, really high. Let's get you back to that. So I gave that example. Hopefully that didn't kill the mood. But nonetheless, I just wanted to share kind of the things that I was seeing and what I've been assessing and examining and observing to come to this decision about the podcast, about the shift. And so I won't belabor that anymore. Just a couple more things that I want to share with you in terms of what you can expect. So our content pillars will remain the same. They're focused on leadership, networking, growth mindset, and your relationship with money, or just money in general, whether that's through salary negotiations, business, whatever. Hopefully you'll continue to stick around and move through this journey with us. 2024, I really want to transition the podcast into a place where it is a community. What that looks like through the master classes that I do. And matter of fact, there'll be one coming up February 15th. That is the official date. The registration is actually in the show notes, so check it out. It's sabinegideon.com/masterclass. And so you can register for the Cultivating Connections masterclass there. But I really want to create a space where we're able to support each other. We're able to see, know, grow with each other. We're communal creatures and we need community. We need support. We as women, especially because we do all of the things, we need spaces where we can come together, we can be ourselves, we can learn, we can grow, we can, let our hair down, so to speak, and be vulnerable and be surrounded by people who can hold that space for us. So that's what I want to create in 2024. And prayerfully, you are on board and, we'll be part of that community. And so the last thing that I will share here is that, or two last things. I would love to hear from you as we're building community, so to speak. So if you wouldn't mind sending me an email at support@sabinegideon.com. Let me know what topics you want to touch on. Now that we've opened it up where it's not just career focused or it's not just business focused, what are some of the things that have been barriers for you in the past that you are looking for solutions? That is what we're going to focus on in this year. We're not talking about barriers. We're not talking about challenges. We're not, regurgitating all the same stuff. And again, no shade. This is no shade at all. It's just in order for us to impact change and in order for us to really fully step into and own our purpose, we have to be looking at what are the solutions? What are the solutions to all of the challenges that exist? And so please, if you will, send me an email at support@sabinegideon.com. Let me know what challenges exist today for you or in your circle or in your sphere that you would like for us to explore solutions. And, I will find the experts to come on and have those conversations. And then the last thing I will say is She Leads Network, again, is still open for enrollment. So I would love to support you in a deeper capacity in those 4 pillars that we talked about, and also be able to give you space to build relationships with other female powerhouses who are looking to grow, who are looking to develop, who are looking to nurture relationships, and of course, leverage their social capital to support others. So you can learn more at sheleadsnetwork.com. And there is a special code for listeners of the show that is located in the show notes as well. So be sure to check that out. And then, yeah, that's all I have. Thank you for everyone who shares, who's rated, who has left a review. I appreciate you. We made it to 100 episodes. We made it to 2 years. And now we get to start year 3 on a expanded journey, if you will. It's not a new one. It's just an expanded journey. So I look forward to your feedback via email at support@sabinegideon.com. I look forward to sharing the reveal of the new podcast cover. And the next time you hear me introduce this show, you will hear me introduce it as the Women of Power, Purpose, and Prosperity podcast. With that, have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will talk soon. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of She Leads Now. If you found today's episode helpful or got a piece of insight that you plan to implement in your business or organization, I would love to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Sabine Gideon, that's my handle, and send me a private message. Or feel free to go ahead and leave a review on either Apple or Spotify. I also invite you to share this episode with anyone in your network who you think might benefit from this content. Lastly, be sure to check the show notes and the description below for links to resources, including relevant downloads, articles, and any upcoming training. Until we chat again, have a blessed and powerful week.